So here's the thing about panic. It doesn't announce itself politely. It just slams into you like a freight train made of ice and terror, and suddenly you're trapped in a bathroom that smells like expensive soap and cedarwood, and the door won't open no matter how hard you push, and you can't scream for help because your voice doesn't work and hasn't worked for 3 years. This is not how I thought my Tuesday would go. But here I am, Ezra Castellano, 22 years old, mute since a car accident that killed my parents and shattered my vocal cords, currently locked in the private bathroom of the three most powerful alphas in the city, the Ashford Triplet Kings, who definitely don't know I'm here, who are probably going to fire me when they find me, if they find me. Please subscribe because this situation is about to get so much worse before it gets better, and you're going to want to see how a mute Omega survives being trapped in a mansion with three Alpha Kings who have no idea he exists. Let me back up, explain how I ended up in this mess. I've been working at the Ashford estate for exactly 2 weeks. I'm a junior archivist, which is a fancy way of saying I organize old documents in the library and try to stay invisible. The Triplet Kings, Damien, Adrian, and Elias Ashford, run the most successful private security company on the East Coast. They also happen to own half the city's real estate and have connections that make politicians nervous. They're powerful, intimidating, and completely out of my league in every possible way. I'd never even seen them up close until this morning. The library where I work is on the second floor, tucked away in the East Wing. I arrive at 7, leave at 3, and spend my days cataloging historical documents and pretending I'm not terrified of being noticed. The senior archivist, Margaret, is kind but distant. The other staff members are polite but busy. I communicate through a notebook I carry everywhere, and most people are relieved they don't have to make conversation with the mute Omega. It's fine. I'm used to being invisible. Prefer it, actually. Less complicated. This morning started normally. I'd been working on a collection of 19th century land deeds, carefully photographing each document and entering the information into the digital catalog. Tedious work, but peaceful. The kind of work where hours disappear and my mind can quiet down. Around 11, Margaret stopped by my desk. The Kings are having meetings in the West Wing all day. She'd written on a note, pushing it across the table. Stay in the library. Don't wander. They don't like disruptions. I'd nodded, relieved. The last thing I wanted was to accidentally run into the Triplet Kings. So of course, naturally, inevitably, I ended up needing to use the bathroom around 1 in the afternoon. The library has a small staff bathroom, but it was out of order. A plumber had left a sign on the door that morning. Broken. Do not use. Margaret had already gone to lunch. The library was empty except for me, and I really needed a bathroom. I knew there was a private bathroom in the West Wing. I'd seen it marked on the mansion's floor plan during orientation. It was listed as guest facilities, which I'd assumed meant staff could use it if necessary. The Ashford estate is massive. 3 floors, 40 rooms, hallways that twist and turn like a maze designed by someone who hated straightforward architecture. I'd walked for 10 minutes, turned down corridors I didn't recognize, past rooms I'd never seen, and was starting to panic that I was completely lost when I finally found it. A door marked private in elegant script. I hesitated, hand on the doorknob, wondering if private meant staff bathroom or absolutely do not enter under any circumstances. But my bladder was making executive decisions at that point, and I pushed the door open. The bathroom was beautiful. All white marble and gold fixtures and a mirror that probably cost more than my entire year's salary. Definitely not a staff bathroom. Definitely the King's personal bathroom, but I was already inside, and the alternative was having an embarrassing accident in a hallway of a mansion owned by 3 Alpha Kings, so I made the executive decision to use it quickly and leave before anyone noticed. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was not checking if the door locked properly before closing it. The lock clicked when I shut the door. A solid, reassuring sound. I used the facilities, washed my hands with soap that smelled like winter forests, and tried very hard not to think about how much trouble I'd be in if anyone found out I'd used the King's private bathroom. Then I grabbed the door handle to leave. It didn't turn. I tried again, pushing down harder. Nothing. The handle moved, but the door stayed firmly shut. I pulled instead of pushed. Still nothing. I tried jiggling the handle, putting my shoulder against the door, turning the little lock mechanism back and forth. The door was stuck. Actually, properly, completely stuck. That's when the panic started to creep in. cold fingers of anxiety wrapping around my chest. I was trapped in the Triplet King's private bathroom. I couldn't call for help. I couldn't yell or knock loudly enough for anyone to hear from this far into the mansion. My phone was in my bag back in the library because I never carried it while working, and the Kings were in meetings in this wing, which meant they could come back at any moment and find me stuck in their bathroom like an absolute idiot. I knocked on the door, softly at first, then harder. The sound echoed in the small space, but probably didn't carry far beyond it. These old mansions were built solid. Thick walls, heavy doors, designed for privacy and sound insulation. I grabbed my notebook from my pocket, thank God I always carried it, and wrote "Help, I'm stuck." Then I slid it under the door, hoping someone would walk by and see it. No response. The notebook just sat there on the expensive hardwood floor of the hallway, visible through the crack under the door, but apparently unnoticed by anyone passing by. If anyone was passing by. This wing seemed completely empty. I tried the door again and again and again. My hands were shaking now. My breathing was getting faster. The bathroom suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer, the air thinner. "Don't panic," I told myself. "Someone will find you. Margaret will notice you're missing. She'll look for you, but she'll assume I left early. Because I'm quiet and invisible and nobody really keeps track of my movements that carefully." The panic was winning now. I could feel it rising in my throat, tightening around my chest. My vision was starting to tunnel. That's when I felt it. A warmth in my chest, a tingling that started near my heart and spread outward through my veins like liquid sunlight. My hands started to glow. Actually, glow. Silver light emanating from my palms like I dipped them in starlight. What? What was happening? The light intensified, spreading up my arms. The bathroom lights flickered. The mirror fogged over despite not being steamed. And I felt something else. A pull. 3 different pulls, actually. Like invisible threads connecting me to 3 distant points in the mansion. I could sense them somehow. 3 presences. A strong and steady and getting closer. Oh no. The Kings were coming. I tried to will the glowing to stop. Pressed my hands against my legs, hoping the light would fade. It only got brighter. The bathroom lights were flickering more insistently now. The mirror was completely fogged, and I could hear footsteps in the hallway, multiple sets, coming closer. "Did you feel that?" a deep voice said from somewhere beyond the door. Like a pull, a tug, something's wrong. I felt it too, another voice, slightly higher but just as commanding, coming from this direction, this hallway. "There's someone here," a third voice, smooth and dark. Someone who shouldn't be. I can sense them. The footsteps stopped right outside the bathroom door. Oh God. Oh no. This was it. I was going to be found glowing like a human nightlight, stuck in their bathroom, having clearly trespassed in their private space. They were going to throw me out, call the police, ban me from ever working in the city again. "Hello," the first voice called out. "Is someone in there?" I stayed silent. Obviously, even if I could speak, what would I say? "Sorry for breaking into your bathroom and glowing inexplicably." The doors locked from the inside. The second voice said, "I heard the handle jiggle from the other side, but there's a notebook under the door." "Someone wrote 'Help, I'm stuck.'" "Break it down," the third voice ordered. "Now." "Adrian, wait," the first voice started. "Now," Adrian repeated. "Someone is trapped and distressed. I can feel their panic through." He stopped abruptly. "Through something, I don't know what, but they need help." There was a moment of silence, then a tremendous crash as something heavy hit the door. The wood splintered but held. Another crash, more splintering. A third impact and the door burst inward, hanging off its hinges. 3 men stood in the doorway. 3 identical men, actually. Same sharp jawlines and high cheekbones. Same tall, broad-shouldered builds. Same dark hair, though styled differently. The only differences were their eyes. One had gray eyes, one had blue, one had green, and the way they carried themselves. The Triplet Kings, Damien, Adrian, and Elias Ashford. And they were staring at me. At the mute Omega Archivist glowing like a lamp, pressed against the wall of their bathroom, clearly terrified. Holy shit, the one with gray eyes, Damien, I thought, breathed. He's glowing. He's an Omega, the blue-eyed one, Adrian said, taking a step forward. His eyes were wide with something between shock and wonder. A lunar-blessed Omega, that's not possible. Those are legends. He's terrified, the green-eyed one, Elias said softly. He held up his hands in a pacifying gesture. It's okay, you're safe. We're not going to hurt you. Can you tell us your name? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Because of course, nothing came out. I grabbed for my notebook, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I wrote Ezra, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The door stuck. I'll leave. I held up the notebook. They read it in silence. You're mute? Damien said. Not a question, an observation. I nodded. And you work here? Adrian continued, his eyes scanning me like he was cataloging every detail. I've seen you in the library. The new archivist. I nodded again, surprised he'd noticed me at all. How long have you been stuck in here? Elias asked gently. I checked my watch. My hands still glowing silver, wrote 30 minutes, maybe more. I lost track. 30 minutes, Damien repeated, his jaw clenched. You've been trapped and panicking for 30 minutes and we didn't know. We didn't sense it until he looked at his brothers. Until the bond started forming. Bond? What bond? What were they talking about? He doesn't know, Adrian said, still watching me intently. Look at his face. He has no idea what's happening to him. We need to explain, Elias said, but not here, not in a bathroom while he's having a panic attack. He took a careful step closer to me. Ezra, I know this is overwhelming. I know you're scared, but I promise you're safe. We're going to help you, okay? But first we need to get you somewhere more comfortable. Can you walk? I wasn't sure. My legs felt like water. The silver light was still pulsing around my hands and I could feel that strange pull toward all three of them, stronger now that they were close. But I nodded because staying in this bathroom wasn't an option. Elias extended his hand. May I? I looked at his hand, at the three of them standing in the destroyed doorway, at my own glowing hands. This day had gone so far beyond normal that taking an Alpha King's hand seemed almost reasonable in comparison. I reached out. The moment our skin touched, the silver light flared brighter, then condensed, flowing from my hands into the space between our palms. The pull I'd been feeling intensified, and I gasped, actually gasped, air rushing into my lungs like I'd been drowning and just found the surface. The bond, Adrian breathed. It's recognizing him, recognizing us. Get him to the study, Damien ordered. Now, before the manifestation gets stronger. Elias kept holding my hand, his grip gentle but steady. Come on, can you stand? I pushed away from the wall. My legs held, barely. Elias put his arm around my waist, supporting my weight like I was something precious instead of an employee who'd just broken into their bathroom. We walked through hallways I barely registered, past rooms I didn't see. My entire focus was on putting one foot in front of the other and trying to understand what the hell bond meant and why I was glowing, and how I'd gone from trapped and panicking to being escorted through a mansion by 3 Alpha Kings who kept looking at me like I was some kind of miracle. Welcome to our channel, your home for Omegaverse stories that will leave you absolutely breathless. If you're new here, please subscribe because Ezra's journey from trapped Omega to something powerful and magical is just beginning. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now let's continue. We reached a study, dark wood furniture, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk covered in papers. Elias guided me to a leather couch and sat beside me, still holding my hand. Damien and Adrian took seats across from us, their expressions serious. Okay, Damien said. Ezra, I need you to listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is going to sound insane. I grabbed my notebook with my free hand, wrote already insane. I'm glowing. That got a small smile from Elias. Fair point. Okay, short version. You're a lunar blessed Omega. It's an incredibly rare gift that appears maybe once in a generation. The silver light you're producing is ancient magic tied to the moon goddess, and that pull you're feeling toward us, that's a mate bond trying to form. I stared at the words in my notebook, read them again, looked up at the three of them, wrote that's not the short version. That's impossible. I know, Adrian said. Believe me, we're just as shocked as you are. Lunar-blessed omegas are supposed to be legends, stories our parents told us, but you're real. You're sitting here glowing with moon magic, and somehow, impossibly, you're bonding to all three of us simultaneously. I wrote bonding. Mate bonding, Damien explained. It's a connection between an omega and their alpha, or in this case, alphas. It links souls, shares strength and emotions, makes you part of each other in a permanent way. I wrote, I don't want that. The words came out more forceful than I'd intended, but the idea of being permanently connected to three alpha kings I barely knew, three men who could fire me on a whim, three of the most powerful people in the city, that was terrifying in a completely different way than being stuck in a bathroom. We know, Elias said softly, squeezing my hand. We're not forcing anything. Bonds can't be forced. They have to be willing on both sides. What's happening right now is just recognition, your magic recognizing ours, but the actual bond, the permanent connection, that only happens if you choose it. And we won't pressure you, Adrian added, ever. This is your choice, your life, your magic. We're just, he paused, seeming to struggle for words. We're just grateful we found you before someone else did. I wrote someone else. There are people who would hurt you for this power, Damien said, his expression darkening. People who would try to control you, use you. The lunar gift is incredibly valuable, dangerous in the wrong hands. If word gets out that you exist, you'll be a target. The silver light pulsed brighter around my hands, responding to my rising fear. Great, excellent, fantastic. Not only was I dealing with impossible magic and accidental mate bonds, but apparently I was also now a target for mysterious, dangerous people. This day just kept getting better. Hey, Elias said, drawing my attention back to him. Look at me, Ezra. Breathe. You're safe. We're going to protect you. That's not negotiable. Whether you choose the bond or not, whether you want anything to do with us or not, you're under our protection now. Nobody will hurt you, I promise. The sincerity in his voice made my chest tight. I looked at the three of them, these powerful alpha kings who'd literally broken down a door to rescue me, and saw nothing but genuine concern. No calculation, no malice. Just three men who seemed genuinely worried about the glowing omega on their couch. I wrote, what do I do now? Now, Damien said, we help you learn to control this. The silver light responds to your emotions. Fear makes it bright and chaotic. Calm makes it gentle. You need to learn to direct it, shape it, or it'll keep manifesting randomly. We can teach you, Adrian offered. All three of us have experience with magic, different types, but the principles are similar. We'll help you understand what you can do. And while you're learning, Elias continued, you stay here, in the mansion, where we can keep you safe and monitor the bond development. I wrote, I have an apartment, a job. You still have your job, Damien assured me. The library position is yours for as long as you want it, but your apartment isn't secure. It doesn't have the protections this mansion has. Please, Ezra, at least for a few weeks, let us help you. I looked down at my still glowing hands, at the silver light that pulsed gently around my fingers, at the notebook where I'd written my protests in shaky handwriting. They were right. I didn't understand this, didn't know how to control it, didn't even know what this was beyond some legendary magic that apparently made me valuable and vulnerable. And these three alphas, despite being complete strangers, despite being powerful enough to destroy me with a word, were offering protection, help, safety. Maybe I was insane. Maybe the panic attack had broken something in my brain, but I wrote okay, I'll stay, for now. The relief that crossed all three of their faces was palpable. Thank you, Elias said, you won't regret this. I hoped he was right. The guest room they gave me was on the 3rd floor, in the family wing. That detail didn't escape my notice. Not a staff room, not a general guest suite. The family wing where the triplets themselves lived. We want you close, Damien had explained when I'd raised an eyebrow at the location. The bond is forming whether we complete it or not. Being near each other will feel more comfortable for all of us. The room was beautiful, larger than my entire apartment. A massive 4-poster bed with dark blue bedding, windows overlooking the estate gardens, a private bathroom. Thankfully, with a working lock that I tested 3 times, a desk with a reading lamp, and an entire bookshelf already stocked with titles that made me do a double take. Poetry collections, linguistics textbooks, books about sign language and nonverbal communication. historical accounts of lunar magic. Someone had stocked this room specifically for me, had thought about what I might need, what I might want to read. Elias did it, a voice said from the doorway. Adrian stood there, holding a tablet. He spent 3 hours in the library yesterday researching, made a list, had the books brought up this morning, yesterday. This room had been prepared yesterday, before they even knew I was the lunar blessed Omega. I grabbed my notebook. Why? Because we felt something, Adrian said simply. For 2 weeks, every time we walked past the library, we felt a pull, not enough to identify it, but enough to be curious. Elias convinced us to prepare a room just in case. He smiled slightly. He has good instincts. I wrote, "This is too much." "It's barely enough," Adrian countered. He set the tablet on the desk. "That's for you. Communication device. It's set up with text-to-speech software. You can type and it'll speak for you. Might be easier than writing everything." I picked up the tablet. It was top of the line. Probably cost more than 3 months of my salary. I typed experimentally. "Thank you." The tablet's voice was clear, gender-neutral, pleasant, better than my handwriting. "You're welcome," Adrian said. He hesitated in the doorway. "Ezra, I know this is overwhelming. Everything happened too fast today. But I want you to know, we don't expect anything from you." The bond recognition was involuntary for all of us. You don't owe us gratitude or loyalty or anything. You're free to leave whenever you want. I typed, "You said I'm in danger." "You are," he admitted, "but we'll protect you whether you're here or not. We can station guards at your apartment if you prefer. Give you a security detail, whatever makes you feel safe." I looked at him, really looked. Adrian Ashford, middle triplet, known for being ruthless in business negotiations. He stood in my doorway, offering me freedom, even though it would clearly be easier for them if I stayed, offering protection without demanding anything in return. I typed, "I'll stay, for now. Learn about the magic, then decide." "That's fair," Adrian said. He pulled something from his pocket, a small silver bracelet. "This is spelled for grounding. If the magic gets overwhelming, put it on. It'll help you control the manifestation until you learn to do it yourself." He set it on the desk beside the tablet and left. I sat on the bed, stared at the bracelet and the tablet in the room full of books, chosen specifically for me, looked down at my hands where the silver glow had finally faded to nothing. What the hell had my life become? A knock on the door interrupted my existential crisis. Ezra, Elias's voice. "Dinner's in an hour. No pressure to come down if you're not ready, but we'd like you to join us." I opened the door. Elias stood there with what looked like a shopping bag. He held it out. We had some things brought up. Clothes, toiletries, basic necessities. We guessed at sizes, so if anything doesn't fit, just let us know and we'll get replacements. I took the bag. Inside were jeans, soft sweaters, sleep clothes, all in my size. How did they even know my size? I must have looked confused because Elias smiled. "Margaret helped. We called her after you agreed to stay. She's very protective of you, by the way. Threatened to gut me personally if we made you uncomfortable." That sounded like Margaret. She might be distant, but she looked out for her staff. I typed on the tablet. "You told her about the magic." "We told her you discovered a rare ability and need some training." Elias said carefully, "Not the full truth. That's yours to share if you want. But we needed to explain why you'd be staying here." I typed, "Thank you for asking her." "Of course," Elias said. He leaned against the doorframe. "Ezra, can I ask you something personal?" I nodded warily. "How did you lose your voice?" I flinched. I'd been expecting that question, but it still hurt. I typed car accident 3 years ago. My parents died. I survived, but my vocal cords were damaged beyond repair. Or at least that's what the doctor said. "I'm sorry," Elias said softly. That's horrible." "I can't imagine." I typed, "It's fine. I'm used to it now." "Being used to something doesn't make it okay," he said. "You shouldn't have to be used to losing your voice." Something about the way he said it, not pitying, just honest, made my throat tight. I typed the bond. "Does it? Can it?" "Can it heal you?" Elias finished. "Maybe. The lunar gift has healing properties, and mate bonds can repair damage that normal medicine can't, but it's not guaranteed, and it would only happen if you chose to complete the bond. We'd never ask you to bond just to get your voice back. That's not..." That wouldn't be right. I nodded, both relieved and disappointed. Dinner's at 6, Elias said. Main dining room, first floor. Come if you want, no obligation. He straightened from the doorframe. Oh, and Ezra, I'm glad you're okay, that you weren't hurt when the door stuck. I felt it through the bond pull. Your panic. It was, he paused. I never want you to feel that afraid again. He left before I could respond. I spent the next hour unpacking the bag of clothes and trying on the tablet. The text-to-speech was incredible. Natural sounding, multiple voice options. I could finally have real-time conversations instead of waiting for people to read my handwriting. At 6, I made my way downstairs. The dining room was formal, but somehow comfortable. A long table set for 4. Damien, Adrian, and Elias already seated. You came, Damien said. Aula standing when I entered. I'm glad. I took the 4th chair. A place had been set for me with careful attention to detail. Water glass already filled, napkin folded just so. The kind of care that spoke of practice and consideration. Dinner was served by staff who smiled at me but didn't ask questions. Some kind of roasted chicken with vegetables and bread that smelled incredible. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Adrian spoke. We should explain more about what you are, what the lunar gift means. I set down my fork and pulled out the tablet. The lunar-blessed Omega is part of an old prophecy, Adrian continued. Every few generations, the moon goddess chooses an Omega to carry her gift. That Omega can channel pure lunar magic, healing, protection, emotional manipulation, sometimes even foresight. But the gift is unstable without an anchor. I typed anchor. A bonded alpha, Damien explained, or in rare cases, multiple bonded alphas. The bond stabilizes the magic, gives it direction and purpose. Without it, the power can overwhelm the Omega, burn them out from the inside. That sounded horrifying. I typed, is that going to happen to me? Not if we can help it, Elias said firmly. The bond pull already gives you some stability, and will teach you control. But eventually, yes, you'll need to complete a bond with someone. Not necessarily us, he added quickly. If you meet another alpha who calls to you, someone you actually want, that would work too. The thought of bonding with a stranger when I already felt this pull toward the 3 men at this table was absurd. But I didn't type that. I typed, what if I don't want to bond with anyone? They exchanged glances. Finally, Adrian answered, then we'll figure something else out. Maybe there's a way to ground the magic without a traditional bond. The lunar gift is so rare that historical records are incomplete. We'd be experimenting, but we'd try. I typed you'd help me even if I never bonded to you. Yes, all 3 said simultaneously. The certainty in their voices made something in my chest ache. I typed, why? You barely know me. Because you're ours to protect now, Damien said simply. Bond or no bond, the moment we felt your panic through that connection, you became our responsibility, our priority. That's not going to change. I stared at the tablet screen, at the words I'd typed, at the 3 alphas who'd rearranged their lives in the span of hours to accommodate a mute Omega archivist they'd barely noticed before today. I typed, this is insane. Completely insane, Elias agreed, grinning. Welcome to our lives, Ezra. It's all madness from here. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch toward a smile. The next few weeks were a blur of magical training and learning to live with 3 alpha kings who seemed determined to make me comfortable, while simultaneously teaching me to wield power I didn't understand. The training started the morning after I agreed to stay. Damien knocked on my door at 7, holding 2 cups of coffee. Morning, he said when I opened the door, still in my sleep clothes. Thought we could start with meditation. The lunar gift responds best when your mind is clear. I took the coffee gratefully. It was exactly how I liked it, lots of cream, 2 sugars. How did he even know that? I pay attention, he said, as if reading my mind. Maybe he could, through the bond. Get dressed. Meet me in the garden in 20 minutes. The garden was beautiful in the morning light. Damien had set up cushions under an old oak tree, creating a peaceful meditation space. Sit, he instructed gently. Close your eyes. Feel the magic inside you. Don't fight it or fear it. Just acknowledge it's there. I sat, closed my eyes, tried to feel the magic he was talking about. At first, nothing. just darkness and the sound of birds and Damien's steady breathing beside me. Then, slowly, I felt it, a warmth in my chest, a tingling under my skin, the silver light waiting to emerge. Good, Damien murmured. Now imagine it as water, flowing through channels in your body. You can direct the flow, speed it up, slow it down, stop it completely. You control it, it doesn't control you. I tried. Focused on the warmth, imagined it as water like he said. The silver light flickered around my fingers, just a gentle glow, not the explosive manifestation from the bathroom. Perfect, Damien said. I could hear the smile in his voice. That's control. That's you directing the magic instead of letting it direct you. Now hold it there. Keep it steady. We sat like that for an hour, me holding the gentle glow, Damien providing steady guidance through the bond. By the end, I was exhausted but proud. I'd held the magic steady for a full 10 minutes without it flaring out of control. You're a natural, Damien said as we walked back to the mansion. Most lunar-blessed Omegas take weeks to achieve that level of control. You did it in one session. I typed on the tablet, maybe I'm just well taught. Maybe, he agreed. Or maybe you're stronger than you think. Adrian's training was different, more physical, more intense. He took me to a private gym in the mansion's basement. The space was fully equipped, weights, mats, training dummies, and some equipment I didn't recognize. The lunar gift makes you powerful, Adrian said, circling me like a predator assessing prey. But power means nothing if you can't protect yourself. If someone gets close, if they bypass your magic, you need to be able to fight. I typed, I'm not a fighter. You are now, he said firmly. Show me the barrier Damien taught you to make. I focused, brought up the silver light, shaped it into a wall of solidified moonlight between us. Adrian nodded approvingly. Then he punched the barrier. It shattered like glass. I stumbled backward, shocked. I'd thought it was solid, impenetrable. Barriers are only as strong as your will to maintain them, Adrian explained. You made it thinking it would hold, but you didn't believe it would hold. There's a difference. Try again. This time, know it will hold. We practiced for 3 hours, me creating barriers, Adrian testing them. Each time, I learned to put more intention, more absolute certainty into the magic. By the end, I'd created a barrier that Adrian actually couldn't break through on the first hit. Better, he said, breathing hard. Much better. Tomorrow we'll work on offensive applications. You need to be able to do more than just defend. I typed, you're a harsh teacher. I'm a teacher who wants you alive. He corrected. The world is dangerous for someone like you, Ezra. I'm not going to coddle you and pretend otherwise, but I will make sure you can survive anything. The intensity in his eyes made it clear this wasn't just about training. This was about the bone-deep need to protect his bonded mate. The alpha instinct channeled into practical skills. I typed, thank you, for caring enough to teach me hard truths. His expression softened, always. Elias's approach was the gentlest, but no less important. He found me in the library a few days into training, frustrated after a particularly difficult session with Adrian, where I'd failed to maintain a barrier under sustained attack. Hey, he said softly. You okay? I shook my head, typed I'm useless. I can't even maintain a simple barrier. How am I supposed to protect myself? Come with me, he said, offering his hand. He led me to his art studio on the 4th floor. The space was chaos and beauty, canvases everywhere, paint splattered on floors, windows open to let in natural light. It smelled like creativity and freedom. Magic doesn't have to be about fighting, Elias said, handing me a blank canvas and some paints. It can be about creating, about beauty, about joy. Show me your magic, Ezra. Not as a weapon, as art. I looked at the canvas, at the paints, at Elias's encouraging smile. I focused on the silver light, but instead of shaping it into barriers or walls, I let it flow freely, let it create patterns in the air, swirls and spirals of moonlight that looked like abstract art. Beautiful, Elias breathed. Now touch the canvas, let the magic interact with the paint. I pressed my glowing hand to the canvas. The silver light mixed with the colors, creating something impossible. The paint moved on its own, swirling into patterns that looked like the night sky. Stars forming and reforming, constellations appearing and disappearing. "That's your magic," Elias said. "That ability to create beauty from nothing. That's just as valuable as any barrier or weapon. Don't let Adrian's intensity make you forget that magic can be joyful." I spent hours in that studio, creating art with magic, making flowers bloom from pure light, painting pictures that moved and shifted, and slowly I stopped feeling useless, started feeling powerful in a different way. "Thank you," I said one afternoon, my voice getting stronger through the tablet, "for reminding me that I'm more than just a target to protect. You're everything," Elias said simply. "Fighter, creator, survivor, artist, you're all of it, and we love all of it." The bond grew stronger with each passing day, not just the magic connection, but the emotional one. I started noticing things. When Damien was stressed about business deals, his jaw would tighten in a specific way. When Adrian couldn't sleep, he'd go to the gym at 3 in the morning. When Elias was happy, he'd hum while painting, and they noticed me too. They knew when I needed space versus when I needed company, knew when I wanted to talk versus when I preferred silence, knew what foods I loved and what smells made me uncomfortable and how I liked my coffee and what books helped me sleep. It was intimate in a way that terrified me, being seen so completely, being known so thoroughly. One night, about 3 weeks in, I had a nightmare. Not about the bathroom, about the car accident, the one that had killed my parents and stolen my voice. I woke up screaming, actually trying to scream, though no sound came out. And all 3 of them were there within seconds, through the connecting doors, into my room, surrounding my bed. "You're safe?" Damien said, sitting beside me. "You're here. You're safe." "Just a dream," Adrian added from my other side. "Just a dream, Ezra. You're okay." Elias pressed a glass of water into my shaking hands. "Drink. Breathe. Tell us what you need." I couldn't speak. The nightmare had stolen my ability to use even the tablet temporarily, the way it sometimes did, so I just pressed myself against Damien's chest and let him hold me while I shook. They stayed, all 3 of them. Damien held me. Adrian sat at the foot of the bed, a solid presence. Elias lay beside me, his hand on my shoulder, and through the bond they sent comfort, safety, love, all the things I needed but couldn't ask for. I fell back asleep like that. I'd surrounded by them, and when I woke in the morning, they were still there. Elias had his head on my stomach. Adrian had fallen asleep sitting up. Damien had his arm still wrapped around me. They'd stayed the entire night, protecting me from nightmares and grief and loneliness. "Thank you," I whispered through the tablet when Damien stirred. He looked down at me with sleepy eyes. "Always," he murmured. "We'll always be here. You're not alone anymore, Ezra. You'll never be alone again." And I believed him. The first time I managed to heal something was an accident. Adrian had gotten a deep cut during training, his own fault. He'd been demonstrating a move and misjudged the angle. Nothing serious, but it was bleeding pretty heavily. "It's fine," he said, pressing a towel to the wound. "Just need to clean it and bandage it." But something in me rebelled at seeing him hurt. The bond pushed me to help, to fix, to heal. I pressed my hand to his arm before I could think better of it. The silver light flowed from my palm into his skin. The cut closed. The blood stopped. The skin sealed perfectly, leaving not even a scar. Adrian stared at his healed arm, then at me, then back at his arm. "Holy shit," he said. "You healed me. Completely healed me." "I didn't mean to," I typed quickly on the tablet. The bond wanted me to." "That was incredible," he interrupted. "Do you know how rare that is? Healing magic is the rarest application of the lunar gift. Most blessed Omegas never develop it." I looked at my hands, at the silver light still glowing gently around my fingers. I'd healed him. Actually healed a wound that would have taken weeks to close. "Try something else," Adrian said, grabbing a knife. "Adrian, no, too late." He'd cut himself deliberately, a shallow cut on his palm, blood welling up. "Heal it," he said. "Try on purpose this time." I took his hand, focused on the wound. Imagine the skin knitting back together. Pushed the silver light into the injury with intention this time instead of instinct. The cut closed. Perfectly. Completely. "Incredible," Adrian said again. He looked at me with something like awe. "You're incredible, Ezra. After that, they had me practice healing on small things, plants that were dying, cuts and bruises they'd get during training. Once, a bird that had flown into a window and broken its wing, I healed them all. The lunar gift was becoming less of a mystery and more of a tool, something I could control and direct and use purposefully. I felt powerful, actually powerful. For the first time since the accident, I felt like I could do something meaningful, like I was more than just a victim who'd survived. 2 months after the bathroom incident, everything changed again. I was working in the library when I felt it through the bond. Danger, immediate and close. All 3 triplets were suddenly alert, their protective instincts flaring so bright through the connection that I gasped. Then the alarm started. Security breach. The automated voice echoed through the mansion. All personnel to safe rooms. Security breach. I stood, uncertain. I didn't know where the safe rooms were, had never needed to know before. Damien's voice came through the bond, speaking directly into my mind through our magical connection. Stay in the library, lock the door, we're coming for you, don't open it for anyone but us. But before I could move toward the door, someone else appeared in the library entrance, a woman, beautiful in a cold, sharp way, dressed all in black tactical gear like she'd come prepared for war. And when she smiled at me, it didn't reach her eyes. There was calculation there, hunger, the look of someone who'd found something valuable and planned to take it. Hello, little Omega, she purred, taking a step into my library. My safe space. I've been looking for you. The silver light flared around my hands instinctively, a defensive response I'd practiced with Adrian 100 times. Barriers started forming before I consciously decided to create them. Oh, don't be afraid, she said, holding up her hands in a gesture of peace that I didn't believe for a second. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to make you an offer. A real one. Not the fantasy the Ashford triplets have been feeding you. I backed up, putting the large reading table between us, grabbed my tablet from where I'd left it on the desk, typed with shaking hands. Who are you? Isabella Chen, she said, watching my barrier with interest. Impressive control for someone who only discovered their gift 2 months ago. The Ashfords have been training you well, almost as if they're preparing you for something or preparing you to be useful. I shook my head. Type they're teaching me to protect myself. Are they? She tilted her head. Or are they teaching you to protect them? To be their weapon, their tool? Think about it, little Omega. You're a lunar blessed Omega, one of the rarest, most powerful beings in our world, and you're bonding to 3 alpha kings who run a security empire. Doesn't that seem convenient? I typed they said I have a choice. And you believe them, she laughed, not a kind laugh, a mocking one. They're businessmen, Omega. Everything is a transaction to men like them. Do you really think they care about one mute archivist beyond what you can do for them, beyond what your power can bring to their empire? Her words dug into insecurities I'd been trying to ignore. The small voice in my head that sometimes whispered I wasn't really special, that I was just useful, that the bond was just a convenient way to control the lunar gift. Was she right? Had I been so desperate for belonging that I'd walked willingly into a different kind of trap? Come with me, Isabella said, extending her hand across the table. I'll teach you to use your power for yourself, not as someone's tool or weapon or bargaining chip. I'll give you freedom, a real freedom, a place where you're valued for who you are, not what you can do. I wanted to type a response, but the words wouldn't form, because part of me, the broken, insecure part that had spent 3 years being invisible and worthless, wondered if she was right, wondered if the triplets' kindness was just sophisticated manipulation. The library doors burst open with enough force to shake the bookshelves. All 3 triplets rushed in, clearly alerted by something, probably my fear flooding through the bond connection like a tsunami. Ezra, get away from her, Damien commanded, his voice carrying that alpha authority that made it hard to disobey. Now! Stay back, little Omega, Isabella said, moving between me and the triplets. They'll drag you into their political games, use you up and throw you away when you're no longer useful. Ask them about the last lunar blessed Omega. Ask them what happened to her. There was no last lunar blessed, Adrian said, his voice tight with anger. The gift hasn't manifested in over a century. You're lying to manipulate him. Am I? Isabella smiled. Or are you just keeping secrets from your bonded mate? Controlling information is controlling people after all. Ezra, Elias said, his voice shaking with fury I'd never heard from him before. The gentle artist Alpha who taught me to create beauty with magic. Please, look at us. You know us. You've lived with us. You felt our emotions through the bond. You know we would never use you like that. The silver light exploded around me, responding to my confusion and fear and anger. Books started lifting off shelves without my conscious direction. The air crackled with energy that made my skin feel too tight. The windows rattled, the lights flickered. I was losing control again, just like in the bathroom, just like every time I got too emotional. Ezra, Adrian said urgently, taking a careful step forward. Focus on the bond. Focus on us. Feel our emotions. You know we're not lying. You know how we feel about you. Let us help stabilize you. But Isabella was moving too, grabbing my wrist with a grip that was iron strong despite her delicate appearance. Your power, your choice. Don't let them take that from you. Take control of your own life. The magic surged, wild, desperate, too much power with nowhere to go. I could feel it building toward something catastrophic, could feel the bond pulling me desperately toward the triplets, could feel Isabella's ambition trying to redirect everything, to channel my power for her own purposes. And then I remembered something Elias had taught me in the art studio. Magic responds to truth, not volume. What was my truth? What did I actually believe when I stripped away fear and insecurity and doubt? I looked at Isabella Chen, really looked at her practiced smile and calculating eyes, at the way she talked about freedom while gripping my wrist like a shackle, at how her words were designed to prey on my insecurities, to make me doubt the one good thing I'd found in 3 years of loneliness. Then I looked at the triplets, at Damien who'd spent hours teaching me meditation with patience I didn't deserve, at Adrian who'd given me defensive magic so I could protect myself instead of always depending on them, at Elias who'd reminded me that magic could be joyful, that I was more than just a weapon or a target. They'd never lied to me, never pretended the bond wasn't complicated, never promised it would be easy or simple, but they'd been honest, patient, kind. They'd given me choice after choice after choice. Even when it would have been easier to just claim me and be done with it, I made my choice. The silver light condensed, focused, and I pushed it outward in a directed wave that sent Isabella stumbling backward across the library, breaking her grip on my wrist. She hit a bookshelf hard, shock and rage evident on her face. I pulled out my tablet, typed with hands that were still shaking but steady enough, and let the mechanical voice speak my truth. Wrong answer. I choose them. I choose the bond. I choose trust over manipulation. Now get out of my library. The 3 triplets moved as one unit, that synchronized movement that came from years of being brothers, and now from the forming bond between us. Adrian had Isabella restrained in seconds, his training showing. Damien was on his phone calling security with clipped, efficient commands. Elias had his hands on my shoulders, grounding me, his alpha presence helping to calm the wild magic still swirling around us. You okay? Elias asked, his eyes searching my face. Did she hurt you? I shook my head. Typed I'm fine. Did I just choose? Did I just complete the bond? Not yet, Damien said, ending his call. You chose to accept it, but the completion ritual is different. It requires intention from all parties. But Ezra, his voice softened. Are you sure? This is permanent, forever, no going back. I looked at the 3 of them, at the alphas who'd broken down a door to save me from panic, who'd taught me magic and given me safety and made me feel wanted for the first time in 3 years. I typed, I'm sure. I want this. I want you. All 3 of you. I choose the bond. The relief that flooded through all of them was palpable through our connection. Then we'll do the ritual, Adrian said. Tonight, properly, with intention and care. He glanced at Isabella, whose security was now dragging away. After we deal with this, Isabella shot me one last look. You're making a mistake. But I could feel the bond, feel the truth of it. This wasn't a mistake. This was choosing family, choosing home, choosing love in a form I'd never expected but couldn't imagine living without. Now, I typed no, for the first time in 3 years. I'm making the right choice. The bond completion ceremony happened that night, in the study where everything had started 2 months ago. The room had been prepared with candles and moonlight streaming through the windows. It felt sacred somehow, important in a way that made my hands shake. The bond requires acceptance from all parties, Damien explained, his voice taking on a formal quality I'd never heard before. This isn't just magic, it's a vow, a promise, something that can never be broken or undone. So we need you to be absolutely certain, Ezra, completely sure this is what you want. I looked at the three of them, at these alpha kings who'd rescued me from a stuck bathroom door, and then proceeded to rescue me in every way that mattered, who'd taught me magic and given me back pieces of myself I thought were lost forever. I typed on the tablet, letting the mechanical voice speak since my actual voice was still damaged. I'm certain, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I choose this bond. I choose you, all three of you. For us, Adrian continued, taking my hand, we offer our strength, our protection, our loyalty, everything we are and everything we have. Our lives, our futures, our hearts, all of it belongs to you now if you'll accept it. For you, Elias said softly, taking my other hand, you offer your magic, your trust, your heart, not because you have to, but because you choose to, not because we're forcing you, but because you want this as much as we do. I understood. This wasn't about ownership or control or using each other. It was about mutual choice, partnership, or four souls deciding to intertwine permanently because being together was better than being apart. I pulled my hands free just long enough to type. I accept everything you offer, and I offer everything I am in return. My magic, my trust, my heart, my future, all of it. I choose this bond. I choose you. Now and always. Damien placed his hand over my heart. Adrian placed his on my shoulder. Elias kept holding my hand, his thumb rubbing gentle circles on my palm. Then by the ancient laws, Damien intoned, by the power of the moon goddess, by the magic that runs through all of us, we accept this bond. We claim you as ours. We offer ourselves as yours. From this moment forward, we are one. The silver light rose around all four of us simultaneously, not chaotic this time, not wild or uncontrolled, deliberate, beautiful, purposeful. It wove between us like threads of starlight, connecting heart to heart, soul to soul, alpha to omega in a pattern that felt older than time. I felt the moment it clicked into place, like a lock turning, like a door opening, like coming home after being lost for years. Suddenly, I could feel them completely. Not just vague awareness through a forming bond, but full, absolute connection. Damien's steady strength like bedrock beneath my feet. Adrian's fierce protectiveness like armor around my heart. Elias's gentle creativity like wings helping me fly. All of it flooding through the bond, settling into place like puzzle pieces finding their perfect home. And they could feel me too. I felt their surprise, their wonder, their joy at finally having the bond complete, at having me fully connected to them. But I felt something else too. Something physical, something changing, a tingling in my throat, a warmth spreading through vocal cords that had been damaged and dead for 3 years. The bond was healing me, actually healing the injury that doctors had said was permanent, that I'd accepted as my new reality, that I'd learned to live with. I touched my neck, eyes widening with shock and hope and disbelief. The healing, Elias breathed, feeling it through the bond. Oh gods, Ezra, the bond is healing you. I opened my mouth experimentally, tried to speak, tried to push sound through vocal cords that might finally work again. The sound was rough, scratchy, broken, but real, actual sound, actual voice. My voice broke, but not from damage, from 3 years of emotions finally having an outlet. Take your time, Damien said gently, his hand still over my heart. The healing might not be instant, might take days or weeks for full restoration. But Ezra, you're speaking, you're actually speaking. But I didn't care if it took months. If I never got more than this rough whisper, I could speak. For the first time in 3 years, words were coming out of my mouth instead of being trapped in my head or spelled out on tablets and notebooks. Thank you, I whispered. The words hurt, scratched, but they were mine. Thank you for choosing me, for saving me, for everything. That broke whatever restraint they'd been showing. Elias pulled me into a hug first, careful and warm and absolutely perfect. Adrian's arms came around both of us, solid and protective. Damien stood close, his presence wrapping around all three of us through the bond, completing the circle. And through the bond, I felt their love. Absolute and overwhelming and undeniable and real. Not obligation, not manipulation, not use, just love. Pure and simple and permanent. "We should talk about next steps," Adrian said after a long moment, still holding me. "About making the bond official, about mating marks and ceremonies and futures." "I'm nervous," I admitted, my voice still rough. "What if I'm not what you need? What if the bond fades?" "It won't," Damien said. "Mate bonds don't work like that. Once they're formed, they're permanent. But what if I can't give you what other Omegas could?" I pressed. "What if my blindness—" I caught myself. Not blindness, but what if being mute for so long has made me less than what you deserve? "You're not less," Elias said firmly. "You're exactly what we need, exactly who we're meant to be with." "But I couldn't see your faces for weeks," I said. "I didn't know what you looked like. I couldn't watch you smile or read your expressions." "Does that bother you?" Adrian asked quietly. "Does it make you want us less?" "No," I admitted. "I know you through touch and scent and now voice. But I wondered if you wished I could have seen you from the start." "We don't," Damien said. "We love you exactly as you are, every part of your journey included." The sincerity in his voice broke something open in me. I've been so afraid of being a burden, of not being enough, but they'd never made me feel that way, not once. "I want to accept the bond," I said, my voice getting stronger with each word. "Officially, I want to be yours." "Are you certain?" Elias asked. "We don't want you to feel pressured." "I'm certain," I confirmed. I've never been more certain of anything. The mating ceremony was simple. Just the four of us in their home, speaking vows we wrote ourselves. Damien promised to always make me feel safe. Elias promised to always support my independence. Adrian promised to always see my strength, and I promised to trust them, to let them in, to build a life together despite my fears. The marking came after. 3 bites, 3 bonds, 3 alpha brothers claiming me as theirs. I expected it to hurt, but it didn't. It felt right, complete. Like pieces of me I didn't know were missing finally clicking into place. And then I felt it. The bond fully formed and undeniable. Their emotions flooding into me. Love, devotion, pride. So much pride in me for accepting this, for taking this leap. "I love you," I said to all 3 of them, my voice clear now. "I don't know when it happened, but I do. I love you all. We know," they said together. We felt it through the bond. 6 months after the mating, life had found a beautiful rhythm. I continued working as a translator in the library, though now I lived in the family wing with my mates. The bond had fully healed my voice, leaving me able to speak clearly for the first time in 3 years. I still carried my tablet out of habit, but I used my actual voice more often now. Margaret had been thrilled when I told her about the bond. "About time you found happiness," she'd said, hugging me fiercely. "Those kings better treat you right, or they'll answer to me." "They treat me perfectly," I'd assured her, "like I'm precious." "You are precious," she'd said firmly. "Don't you forget it. The 3 kings courted me even after the bond was complete. They took me to art galleries and museums, to restaurants and theaters, to quiet places where we could talk and laugh and just be together. Damien taught me about business and strategy. Adrian took me hiking and showed me how to defend myself even without magic. Elias spent hours painting with me in his studio, and I fell deeper in love with them every single day. 1 year after the bathroom incident, I stood in the library where I'd worked for over a year now. Margaret had finally retired, and I'd been promoted to head archivist. The room was quiet, peaceful, mine, my office, my space, my sanctuary. A soft knock made me turn. All 3 of my mates stood in the doorway, looking suspiciously coordinated. "What's going on?" I asked, setting down the manuscript I'd been cataloging. "We wanted to give you something," Damien said, stepping forward. He held out a small box. I opened it to find a key. Beautiful, ornate. Clearly old, the metal warm under my fingers. "What is this?" It's the key to the private library, Elias explained, the one in the West Wing that only family has access to. It contains books on lunar magic, rare texts, historical documents about blessed omegas. We want you to have full access. We want you to understand your gift completely. You're giving me access to your family library, I said, stunned, the one that's been locked for generations. Because you're family, Adrian said simply. You're our mate, our omega. What's ours is yours, always has been. I looked at the key in my hand, at the 3 alphas who'd given me everything, who'd taken a terrified omega trapped in a bathroom and shown him he was powerful, wanted, loved, who'd spent a year proving every single day that the bond wasn't just biology, but choice and commitment and devotion. Thank you, I said, my voice steady and clear, for this, for everything, for breaking down that door, for staying when I was too scared to let you in, for teaching me that being vulnerable doesn't make me weak, for showing me what love actually looks like. Best decision we ever made, Adrian said with a grin, breaking down that door, finding you, fighting for you, keeping you. What about you? Damien asked, pulling me close. Do you regret any of it? The chaos, the magic, the bond. I thought about it, about the terrified omega I'd been a year ago, trapped in a bathroom, glowing with magic I didn't understand, convinced I'd be thrown out and forgotten, about the journey from that moment to this one, from fear to trust, from isolation to belonging, from silence to voice. No, I said honestly, not a single moment. Even the scary parts led me here, led me to you, and we wouldn't change a thing, Elias said softly. Not the stuck door, not the panic, not the chaos, because it brought us you. The library felt sacred in that moment, the 4 of us standing together, bound by magic and choice and love. I thought about the books surrounding us, thousands of stories about other people's lives, other people's loves, but none of them could compare to ours. What had started with a stuck bathroom door had become the greatest gift of my life. 3 mates who saw me, who valued me, who loved me exactly as I was. 3 alpha kings who'd broken down a door and then proceeded to break down every wall I'd built around my heart. Sometimes, I thought, the best things in life happen by accident, a wrong turn, a stuck door, a moment of panic that leads to a lifetime of love, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. The triplets had taught me that strength isn't about never needing help. It's about being brave enough to accept it when it's offered. That being seen completely doesn't make you vulnerable. It makes you whole. That love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day, in big ways and small. That night, we celebrated in the private library they'd just given me access to, surrounded by books about lunar magic and blessed omegas who'd come before me. I realized something profound. I wasn't the first to walk this path, but I might be the first to walk it with 3 mates who loved me enough to break down every barrier, literal and metaphorical, to reach me. And that made all the difference. The end. If Ezra's journey from trapped and terrified to powerful and loved touched your heart, please hit that like button, drop a comment, and tell me which king was your favorite. Damien's steady strength, Adrian's fierce protection, or Elias's gentle creativity. And don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this, where wrong doors lead to right people and fear turns to love, are what we're all about here. Sometimes getting stuck is exactly what you need. Sometimes the people who break down doors are the ones meant to open your heart. Thanks for being here.